How many of you guys just want to head home right now? Just like leave class, out of school? Okay. Alright, for some of us, once we get home, I know that I'm gonna take off this get up and go put on my sweats and t-shirt and just chill for the rest of the day. And the quote from Lord John Warfin, he states that home is where you can hang your hat. And I agree that once you're home, you could be comfortable and just be yourself and worry about nothing else. And a few stories about myself. When I was younger, a child, like 5 years old, I grew up really poor. I was living with my aunt and uncle. They rented out my family a small bedroom apartment where we could just live with them for a bit. The bedroom, it was a small studio bedroom. Our bed was in our living room. Like we had a TV, few steps, you see our bed. Second story is that ever since then, I've been moving apartment to apartment about 4 or 5 times for the past 10 years. And this summer coming up, I'm actually gonna move into a house with my family. Like we're actually gonna get a loan, move into a house where I can have my own bedroom and feel comfortable. And lastly, just to conclude this, is that wherever you go, even though you may be living in an apartment or a complex, even having your family around with you could be home as well.
Okay, the audience survey at the beginning is okay, kind of the way, you're not actually asking people to respond, you're just, well, I guess they are responding. I seem to remember responding myself. But the idea that when you get home, you can be yourself, you can kind of relax, and that's who you are and what you're going to be. I like that idea for the purpose statement. You then just kind of become a little too literal, though, about talking about the different homes that you've had. And I thought that there were a couple of places where you had a good idea, like right at the beginning when you were talking about how you could be yourself when you are at home. And the other one is at the end of the speech when you're talking about, home is really where your family is. And I thought those would be two good examples to use is the supporting structure of the speech, and or I should say points to use, and then you can find some examples that would illustrate those, and I think your speech would be a little bit stronger. As it is, it just feels a little bit like, let me talk about some of the places that I've lived and the place that I'm going to live, and that'll be enough. And I think there's more to say about those kinds of things. You got a little bit of detail about living with your aunt and uncle. It seems to me like that would be one of those examples of family, for instance, and how important it is to have that kind of connection, and that it makes it easier for you to be yourself and be someplace, even if it isn't luxurious surroundings and a lot of space. There's still something about it that is, like you said, home. And even though you're not living with your immediate family, you're living with people that do care about you and are willing to make that kind of sacrifice to have you as part of their family too. So I think there are ways that you could develop those a bit. Presentation issues, there are a couple of things that you need to work on. You have a tendency to look down every time you're transitioning from one idea to the next. So instead of talking to us, it's like when you get to the next idea, I'm going to look down and think about what the next thing I can say is, and then I guess now I'll look up again. And it's mechanical in nature, and it's a habit. And so it's something that you kind of have to force yourself not to do, so that when you do talk to people, you kind of stay engaged with them. There's nothing wrong with looking down occasionally to break your interaction with people, but you're kind of doing it as a way to just make that transition that we were talking about. And I think that would be better to do with a body movement or a gesture rather than changing your eye contact. And like I said, if you were changing your eye contact from one side of the room to the other, that's one thing, but you were just kind of disengaging. And each time you do that, I think you're giving the audience a chance to withdraw a little bit from your presentation. And so that's I think, potentially problematic. I think you need to be a little bit more expressive with the tone of voice and with your facial expressions. I did like the exit material that you were starting to develop. It really felt like that was the start of the speech. And like you'd gotten to a really good idea, and that's where you were going to go with it. And then it doesn't feel like it fills in quite as much. And it's sort of like you stop just as you're getting started. But that's a content issue. You have to develop that a bit more. All right, thank you.